Thank you for joining us live. We are getting ready to start in the next few moments. Welcome to the Crystal Healing Therapy Orientation, brought to you by Pleiadian Institute. Our agenda today is to cover 4 major components of the integrative crystal therapy system that we teach, and to review the Transcendent Health Framework. We begin with crystallography, the foundation of how we understand the science of how crystals heal. We then explore rays of light and chakra activation, human physiology and epigenetics. And finally, we look at the big picture within the process that we teach, integrative crystal therapy. And finally, we will explore together the Transcendent Health Framework, which brings it all together. First, crystallography. When the mineral kingdom and the human kingdom link their forces together, new worlds of consciousness unfold. Katrina Raphael. Indigenous healers and shamans have used crystals to bring physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health to people for thousands of years. Crystals are minerals. They can be used for healing in many of the same ways we use plants. The molecular and crystalline structure of the minerals that compose crystals define their healing properties. Crystallography is the branch of science devoted to the study of molecular and crystalline structure and properties. It provides scientific theories and research that supports our understanding of how crystals heal. Crystallographic principles are vital in numerous fields, including chemistry, pharmacology, and molecular biology. Today, the field exists to support the understanding of drug development primarily, and the structures of biomolecules used in drugs. What the field has taught us, however, is that crystals have a crystalline molecular composition that research has shown directs energy and light. A crystal consists of atoms arranged in a pattern that repeats periodically in 3 dimensions. And I have integrated the references for this video at the end of the video. You'll be able to take a screenshot of it if you want to go deeper into any of these topics. The most important feature of a crystal then is the regularity of these patterns that happen reliably and consistently. Crystallography teaches us that it's the symmetrical shape of the crystals that is actually an indication and a manifestation of the symmetry of the actual molecules within the crystals. So that's a scientific way of saying the way that the crystal looks on the outside teaches us about the atoms and the molecules that comprise the actual physical substance itself. This symmetry in minerals creates patterns that supports homeostasis. And homeostasis is the process by which an organism, meaning a human body, an animal body, a plant, maintains a stable internal environment while adjusting to external conditions. So it's the foundation of how we stay healthy. It's a self-regulating process that's essential for health and survival. So homeostasis just describes the natural healing mechanism that is at work in our bodies at all times. There is a theory that is called the spatial homeostasis theory that brings this all together. And here's what it states. Under pathological structural deformation, which is a scientific way of saying illness or disease, when pathology deforms the structures in our body, and pathology is another word for illness or disease. The body tries to retain spatial balance and common symmetry. So the way our cells naturally heal themselves is to reestablish a pattern of symmetry. And this is important, so important when it comes to crystal healing. So spatial homeostasis, then, this theory explains how our cells work. It determines the functioning of the body and it integrates its vital functions. So it doesn't only show us how our cells move, but it also shows us how our organs operate and our blood flows and all of the systems in our body, how they work together, how they maintain homeostasis, is through creating symmetry in the cells themselves and also the space in between the cells. Symmetry then is at the core of spatial homeostasis. Healthy cells create balance in the body by operating in ways that create symmetrical patterns. Crystallinity is regarded as a special type of symmetry. This is because the natural growth pattern of crystals is symmetrical. One of the qualities of symmetry is what is called a mirror plane. This is a field that creates new molecules that are perfect duplicates of the molecules that already exist. It is this mirrored duplication that is the source of symmetrical growth. Symmetry then plays an integral role in the healing process. It's how our bodies naturally heal themselves, and it is also at the core of how crystals influence cellular expression. And the way that we know this is because cancer cells actually exhibit a quality known as symmetry breaking. So at the core of a cancer cell is an asymmetrical pattern, meaning a pattern that is not symmetrical. It actually breaks the normal symmetry that the cells exhibit. In most normal tissues, cell division results in identical or nearly identical pairs. That means when cells divide, they divide in healthy cells symmetrically. However, in cancer, cell division is often an asymmetrical process that can be thought of as a series of symmetry breaking events. And what happens in cancer is that cell division happens often at a rapid rate and is uncontrollable. That means that they're uncontrollably, these cells, creating asymmetrical new cells. And there's so much of that asymmetry in the body that the cancer spreads quickly. Symmetrical patterns, however, in cellular function support homeostasis. That means that the more symmetrical our cells are, the more the natural healing mechanism in our body is activated. And you can actually see here this image. This is an image of a crystalline molecule, and it shows what this symmetry looks like on a very basic level. So you can see here a molecule with a center of symmetry. You can envision this center going right through the middle so that on either side of the molecule, you have an exact duplicate of each other. And here you see the mirrored plane. So you can also then split this molecule down the center, like just like if it was cutting right through the center of each of these cells. And here you will also find perfect symmetry. That is the symmetry of the mirrored plane. And this shows that point again in the center. indicating the perfect symmetry that always occurs within crystalline structures. And it is the symmetry actually that defines a crystal, meaning not any rock is considered a healing gemstone. That has to, the gemstone itself has to have a crystalline structure, which is defined by its symmetry in order to be considered a tool that we use in crystal healing. However, the law of right left symmetry was used in classical physics, but uh, this ancient Chinese philosopher notes that there wasn't a great practical importance there. One reason for this derives from the fact that right-left symmetry is a discrete symmetry, unlike rotational symmetry, which is continuous. And what this means is that there are different ways that symmetry expresses itself in nature, not only like in the crystalline molecules, that right left symmetry, but also what's known as continuous symmetry. This is an ammonite, which is a crystallized shell. And the ammonite itself grows in a pattern of continuous symmetry. And it crystallizes also in that pattern of continuous symmetry. So we don't see, like in the crystalline molecules, necessarily the symmetry where there is a perfect mirror from left to right, but instead we see this mirrored pattern that exists in a continuous flow that is often in the shape of spiral. So these scientific theories already exist. The fact that symmetry and homeostasis are connected and essential to one another in the healing process, that knowledge already exists. But what we have not done is we've not applied these scientific theories and principles to research in holistic healing. The theory that crystal healing is not based on science, which is prevalent in the mainstream narrative of crystal healing, is really due to a lack of published research. There's specifically a lack of peer-reviewed scientific evidence that supports the use of crystals in preventative treatment. Rigorous, well-designed clinical trials for crystal healing practices are virtually non-existent. This integrative crystal therapy program is designed to demonstrate the safety and effectiveness of crystal healing practices through evidence-based research. Building a scientific evidence base about crystal healing as a complementary and alternative medicine and therapy is the first step in our process. So we look at how can we explore the evidence that already exists about how cells operate, and then how can we observe what happens to our bodies and our minds and our health when we bring in these healing tools that we know foster the same type of symmetrical alignment that our cells need for healing. And there are two ways to do this. That is through quantitative research and qualitative research. And quantitative research focuses on collecting and analyzing data to identify patterns to make predictions. Specifically, we collect data from our clients and then we test hypotheses. So often these processes happen using statistical methods to generalize findings to a wider population. So we work through our healing treatments. As we do that, we collect data, and the goal of collecting that data is to be able to share that data with a wider audience so that we can document the impact that our crystals are having on our healing treatments, and then share that data so that we may begin to research on a wider scale. Crystallography teaches us how to define the crystalline structure of minerals quantitatively. So it the field of crystallography is a tool when we are using scientific research in the first part of our process. Qualitative research, on the other hand, aims to understand the why and the how behind human behavior and experiences. It utilizes non numerical data like observations, interviews, and focus groups to gain in depth insights. And it's the combination of these two types of research that bring about the greatest insights. Our process integrates both qualitative and quantitative research. We study the wisdom and practices of our ancestors together with crystallography, epigenetics, and human physiology using evidence based methods. The crystalline structure and geometric formation of each crystal also influences its purpose and healing potential. And so, therefore, the training of the practitioner in energy healing is also fundamental. This is because you can't just hold a crystal, you can't just know what the healing properties of the crystal are and place it on your body and heal cancer. That's not how the process works. And there is a depth of understanding the practices as a practitioner, not just understanding them by reading about them in a book, but actually experiencing that healing yourself first. Going through the process yourself first is the first step. And then training in how to work with minerals for healing, as well as training your state of mind as a practitioner, is instrumental. Effective training really integrates practice also in deep meditative states with our crystals. So, our training then includes an evidence based approach with a comprehensive study of the healing properties of all 300 known gemstones. And all of this is because to achieve excellence in your crystal healing practice, you can't train only in scientific data or only in the healing practices of crystals. We can't exclusively work in meditation and we can't exclusively work in a lab. The art and science of crystal healing requires training in both. And that brings us to our integrative crystal therapy framework. And this is the first piece of the pie in this framework pie chart that I created for you. So you can see here at the bottom, we have crystallography and the healing properties of minerals. That is where we start our training, is in understanding the science of how crystals heal and understanding the specific healing properties of the minerals. Next, we explore the rays of light. Music is the arithmetic of sounds, as optic is the geometry. Let me start that over. Music is the arithmetic of sounds, as optics is the geometry of light. Claude Debussy. Scientifically, there are 7 colors of the spectrum of white light: violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, and red. Spiritually, these 7 rays represent the fundamental law of 7. They are a law of cosmic action and organization, and they are an expression of a law of nature. White light is the source of and a mixture of all of the rays. Each color then is associated with the light of a particular wavelength. The rays are described by metaphysical texts as high vibrational vortices of divine light emanating from the cosmic heart of God. As we bring our attention to each ray, we align with its vibrational frequency. These frequencies radiate through our energy field and allow us to be conscious of ourselves as beings of light. The rays of light also manifest as colors and as healing properties in minerals and plants. We have a separate training that I've created on how to work with crystals and the rays of light, and I've linked it underneath this video so you can watch it later on. And that is the second piece of our PI, our Integrative Crystal Therapy Framework PI. And it is in the study and application of the rays of light in meditation. Next, we integrate chakra activation. You can't criticize geometry. It's never wrong. Paul Rand. The original source of our understanding of the chakras is in the original Sanskrit tantric texts that the chakras were taught within, the Sat Chakra Nirupana. Tantra is a process of coming into union with spirit through the physical body. In tantric philosophy, the chakras are energy centers that emanated from the original gods, Shiva, the infinite supreme consciousness, and Shakti, the divine mother, the eternal energy of the supreme consciousness. Shiva and Shakti held the infinite power of the universe, and through their divine union, all matter, the seen and the unseen, were created. In the Sat Chakra Nirupana, we are taught that the energy of the gods is first made manifest within our chakra centers. Therefore, it teaches that spirit is not something outside of you, but the gods and the goddess lives deep within. This text teaches us that our chakras are a microcosm for the universe. A microcosm is a place that includes in miniature the characteristics, qualities, or features of something much larger. So we see within the original iconic drawings and paintings of our chakras, the clouds, fire, the ocean, gods, goddesses, animals, all of the colors within our universe, everything that our universe contains on a miniature level, according to these ancient texts, exists within our chakra centers. This means that what exists within your chakras is a reflection of not only what is in the universe, but also what is in your mind and the experiences and environment that are shaping you and shaping our planet. It's likely that your understanding of chakras is overly simplistic, and that's because it is fed into our Western minds through a system of colonialism, capitalism, and contemporary New Age practices that oversimplify the process in order to put it in a neat little package and sell it to us. There are 7 chakras, and they are these 7 different colors, and they have these 7 different attributes. But that is not a core teaching of the tantric texts. Instead, we learn that our chakra centers are more like kaleidoscopes. They're dynamic. They're changing colors and frequency depending on our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, and our environment. Our chakra centers also contain geometric patterns, and when activated, they support the healing of our entire body system. The points at which you come into union with this spiritual life force energy that is running through you and that surrounds you are your chakra centers. Your attention to the light is what activates your connection to spirit, and it is what activates your chakras. One of the original teachings that really helps us to understand how this chakra system works was from Vyasa. And he's told us that what is here is elsewhere. What is not here is nowhere else, meaning that we can trust that the whole earth, all experiences that we've had in our lives, as and including the entire cosmos itself, exists within our physical bodies. Sat Chakra Nirupana translates to description of the six centers or chakras, and it comes from a particular form of tantric yoga named Kundalini Yoga. These names refer to the Kundalini Sakti, or supreme power in the human body, which rises through arousing. This activates the yoga, which is this experience of connection with life, which is achieved through the purification of the elements of the body, known as Bhuta Suddhi, which takes place upon that event. And what he's saying here is that as we activate our Kundalini, which happens through the activation of each of our chakra centers, we purify the elements in our body and we activate what is known as the Kundalini Sakti, or the supreme power in the human body. And so, knowing what we know about homeostasis, this power that we have within our bodies that heals us completely, and we know that that occurs through a form of symmetrical division of cells, we can see that even in these ancient teachings, we are taught that there are these centers of energy within our body. When we bring them into harmony through the activation of the light, through this healing process, we activate this incredible power. Now, I think that the power of homeostasis and the power that's activated through the activation of our chakras and our kundalini is one and the same. Crystals are tools that support us in being conduits of the light in the healing process. They cleanse, they balance, and they support the activation of our chakras. They also emit vibrational frequencies, depending on the mineral composition that they hold, that occur in stable, reliable, and symmetrical patterns. They serve as a tool that has the potential to activate the unseen energies that are both surrounding us and that exist within us. If you want to explore an overview of our process that we use for chakra activation, I have linked this video below so that you can watch it. Chakra Activation 101. And that fills in the third piece of the pie in our integrative crystal therapy framework, which is chakra activation and energy healing. We now explore human physiology, which is the scientific study of how the human body functions. In our process, we learn about the chemical and physical processes that support life, from the molecular level to the functioning of organ systems, and how these systems work together to maintain homeostasis. You'll understand what each body system does and how each body system relates to the others. Our process leads you through an introduction to the major body systems and the energy that each of these systems holds. The interaugmentary system, which is the body's largest organ system, consisting of the skin, hair, nails, and glands. We learn about the skeletal system and the muscular system, the nervous system, sensory system, and endocrine system, the cardiovascular system and lymphatic system, the respiratory system and digestive system, the urinary system, and reproductive system. In addition to that, you'll be able to identify and explain major cells, tissues, and organs, and be able to identify and explain the functions of the central muscles and bones in our bodies. Most importantly, you'll learn the science of homeostasis and understand the processes at work that automatically facilitate healing in the body. You can learn more about the energy of human physiology and our process for understanding how these systems flow together in a separate video that I've linked below. Next, we integrate an understanding of epigenetics. And to understand epigenetics, I want you to close your eyes and imagine right now, inside of your body, 30 trillion cells that are operating harmoniously right now. We each have an estimated 30 trillion cells within our human body. Within each of those cells, there is a complete copy of 3 billion DNA molecules. So within each cell, there are 3 billion DNA molecules. This makes up the human genome. So, with your eyes closed again, imagining those 30 trillion cells in your body. Within each of those cells, 3 billion DNA molecules. That is a total of 7 billion, billion, billion molecules flowing, operating harmoniously in your body right now. Each of us is a living, walking miracle. 7 billion, billion, billion molecules in each of our bodies flowing harmoniously with one another. Our genome is the entire set of our DNA. So those 3 billion DNA molecules, they together comprise our genome. The epigenome surrounds each of the DNA molecules. You want to think of it like the ecosystem of your DNA. Your epigenome is where your DNA lives. And there's this great image that I found that helps you see it on a scientific level. This purple, it almost looks like yarn in the beginning. This is the epigenome. And you can see the epigenome here is shown Hello, everyone. I think I lost you for a moment. I'm just going to double check that our sound is working, and then I will pick up where we left off. Okay, everyone, we are back. Thank you for being patient with that interruption. So, I'm going to start again talking about this great image that gives you a good understanding of how the epigenome looks on a cellular level. So this right here, this purple, it looks like yarn. This is what they're showing as the epigenome. And you can see here it coils into, you notice it here, what looks like a sheath. See, it almost looks like a netting that's covering the DNA. And then if you look closer, you can see here that it wraps around each molecule. And in that way creates what is known as a sheath. And then what happens is every experience that we have in our lives, positive and negative, affects this epigenome. That's why I want you to think of it like you are the fish swimming in the sea, and your epigenome is like the ocean that surrounds you. So everything in your life, there's some things in the ocean that you can control, and there's some things that you can't control. Like you could wake up every day and exercise and look for healthy food to eat and have a positive mindset, practice meditation and energy healing, but you can't control toxins that someone dumps into the ocean, right? You can't control if there's a war going on around you. So all of that affects us. The personal things that we can control and the things that we can't control. And all of that impacts our epigenome. So the epigenome itself is a web of protein molecules and chemicals. But this visual helps you understand it. It is like an ecosystem. It surrounds each of our cells. It encloses our DNA like a sleeve. So it's within our epigenome then that our genes get switched on and off like a light switch and up or down like a thermostat. And this doesn't just happen with one in one moment, but it happens especially with repetition over time. The same environmental triggers turning off or on multiple genes will change the way that our genes express themselves. And research shows us that our environment, our food, all the substances we put into our body, our community, our daily habits, our physical exercise, our relationships, all impact our epigenome. And so epigenetics then is the study of our epigenome. And that is why epigenetics is essential to crystal healing because it teaches us how our genes, our cells react to the experiences that our bodies go through. Epigenetics teaches us that habits like meditation, exercise, diet, holistic healing modalities like energy healing results in, that should say, a positive impact on our cells and our DNA. Homeostasis and the epigenome then are closely linked. And remember then, homeostasis is the process that our body automatically employs that regulates all the molecules in our body. The epigenome regulates homeostasis because the epigenome impacts every single cell. Specifically, it impacts our DNA. And our DNA are known as the instructor cells. The DNA tells the rest of the cells in our body what to do. The epigenome helps maintain homeostasis by controlling the expression of genes involved in metabolism, immune responses, stress adaptation, and cellular repair. And so, what we know for sure is that environmental influences on the epigenome affects homeostasis. That means that it affects our body's ability to heal. External factors such as diet, stress, toxins, but also meditation, yoga, and energy healing create epigenetic marks that impact how our genes function. It impacts how our DNA instructs the rest of our cells in homeostatic processes. Research shows us that the body is positively impacted. Specifically, our cells and our epigenome is positively impacted by our health choices, by our daily habits, by our environment, substances, and relationships. So, epigenetics then is the field of science that helps us to understand how healing practices like crystal healing can impact both our epigenome and our cellular function. Research in the field of holistic healing and the impact it has on our epigenome and our cellular expression will lay a scientific basis for the future of our work. So even though we don't have that scientific basis right now, we are the change makers. We are here to bring these fields together so that we can help other people to understand the incredible positive impact that using crystals specifically in a healing treatment facilitates positive shifts in our epigenome and in our cells. And that is the fourth piece of the pie in our integrative crystal therapy framework, human physiology, and how that helps us to understand how the crystals are healing our physical bodies. And now let's look at how all these pieces come together. They come together through the biggest piece of the pie here, which is our research in crystal healing practices, and specifically the use of alternative healing tools, including sound, herbs, and water, together with our crystals. Integrative crystal therapy integrates crystal healing techniques and applications with evidence based complementary and alternative therapies. When you complete training in evidence based practices and training in energy healing, meditation, and crystal healing, a synergy is created. Here, we open to our healing genius, and it's here where our healing practice comes alive. If we just sit in meditation with a crystal, our experience is limited. And if we just read books about how the structure of the molecules heal us, our experience is limited. It's when we bring those together, when our conscious mind is stimulated through the learning that we're doing about the molecular structure of the crystals, and our subconscious mind is open and receptive in healing environments. That's when we are the most activated in this work that we are doing. And that is when this term, our healing genius, which I use often in our training because it's ultimately what we're all aspiring to, is activating that healing genius. And it's born through our in-depth healing work. It's born through what we do every day, day after day, our attention to the light and our energetic alignment. It comes alive when you learn how to use the evidence-based methods in your healing work, specifically how to create elixirs, grids, and how to use tools like hypnosis and guided meditation with crystal healing techniques. It comes alive as you learn how to use crystals to work with each of the first 12 layers of the auric field. And as you learn a process to understand and begin to apply the scientific research that already exists with the potential of crystal healing research that we are building together. It also comes alive as you employ transpersonal psychology and research as a structure and as a language to bring and to explain how the cellular healing is happening, how the healing of illness and disease is occurring. And as you use it as a template for preventative treatments. This whole process comes alive in your practice as you practice crystal healing methods with others and on yourself. Specifically, complementary and alternative medicine, CAM, refers to a broad range of health practices that are typically used alongside or instead of conventional medicine. And CAM provides us an opportunity to bring our knowledge about crystals to mainstream populations through research. So CAM, complementary and alternative medicine, already exists as an established research field. And so we are not building our own field of research per se. Instead, we are bringing our understanding of how crystals heal and collecting data on the treatments that we facilitate, and then bringing all of that to the complementary and alternative medicine field. That is how we are structured and set up to bring about the most transformation in our research. Transpersonal psychology also guides our blueprint and gives us the language we use to integrate crystal healing with CAM modalities. Integrative crystal therapy then, in this way, integrating all of these different fields of science and healing, becomes a bridge into the light of healing. And our process and our teaching philosophy has three core tenets that lead you through it. First is experience the program itself. So our model is based on a series of programs that contain daily healing experiences. Second is to consciously experience the healing yourself before you lead others through it. So once I've healed my body and my mind using crystals in my own healing practice, I'm going to be able to articulate that, to share my experience, to be an advocate for this type of healing. I'm going to be able to be the best advocate once I've experienced it myself. And then finally, once I've gone through that process, the third step is to master the healing process mentally and physically before I learn the technique. So really study how this is happening before I work with others. So you will both learn then about the healing process as a student, and you'll also move through the healing process as if you were a client. And this happens through our treatments. In this program, there are two treatment programs. The first is the chakra activation and attunement treatment program. It happens over 15 weeks in 2 cycles. Each of the cycles take place inside of our courses. So the first course, Chakra Activation 101, you're going to go through 7 weeks. That's the first cycle. And the second course, Chakra Activation 102, you're going to go through 8 weeks. That's the second cycle. And the first cycle goes through the chakras in your physical body. The second cycle goes through the chakras in your transpersonal body. The second program is the Integrative Crystal Healing Program, and that's the core of our training. It goes through 41 weeks, and there are 5 cycles. Each cycle here also broken up into a separate course, and we'll look at those a little more closely next. And the next bridge we travel over is the attunement bridge. Each program has a series of attunements in which you work with a trained practitioner who's already experienced an initiation to this healing modality. And you experience in this program 12 chakra activations and attunements. These happen during our retreats, and they are virtual retreats where we meet in person from our homes and we share the energy healing attunements that help to activate our energetic bodies, and really it facilitates a deeper healing process, which is at the core of the integrative crystal therapy model. And finally is the certification bridge. In this program, you receive an integrative crystal therapy certificate. And that is all taught within the Transcendent Health Framework, which has 3 core parts to it. The Transcendent Health Framework begins with visualization, and it begins with an outcome that we are focused on. So what that means is before we even get started learning about, or before you even think as a practitioner, how am I going to help heal this person? We first begin visualizing what is that healed state for me, or what is that healed state for my client. We start with ourselves first. So if I were to visualize the healing that I am seeking right now, what would that look like? What would that feel like? We spend a lot of time practicing how to do that because that is an essential first step in any work with holistic healing modalities. The second step in the process is to define our outcome. So what is the specific, like if I were to write down a statement that this is what I'm seeking healing from, what is that outcome? And we want to define that outcome before we get started. We want to visualize it, and we also want to have it written down in a succinct sentence or two that states the ideal outcome that we are seeking. And then that gives us a way to work with our systems. And the systems, specifically in this modality that we're learning, is integrative crystal therapy and also the chakra activation program. Those are the two core systems that work together to help us understand, okay, so now how do we bring about this healing? The healing systems give us a formula that we can then follow. We have a specific blueprint, which is like step one of chakra activation is focusing on our breath. Step two is, and each of our healing systems has a number of steps just like that. So it's practical. It's able to be repeated as many times as necessary in order to facilitate the healing. And it's the relationship between all that creates the healing itself. We can't just jump right into the practices without the visualization, and we can't have the visualization without having something clear and succinct and written down on paper. And we can't know if we have achieved our outcome unless we have defined it first. And none of it works without the healing systems. So all the visualization, the systems, and the definition of our outcome are essential, as is the awareness that our cells respond to light. They respond to our breath. They respond to our time in meditation. They respond to our time practicing energy healing. They respond to vitamins, to the minerals that exist within the crystals that we are working with. And our attention determines our frequency. So, how often are we bringing our attention to the light, to our breath, to those healing modalities that we are learning? That level of attention, if my attention is there all day, I'm in my mastery as a healer. If my intention is there once a day for an hour, I'm engaged in the healing process. So the amount of time that we bring our attention to this work determines our frequency and our outcome. And this framework also begins with this awareness that we are the next generation of researchers. That those that have come before us and the research that has already been done is instrumental to what we're doing today. It's so valuable, but there's so much further that we have to go. And we are just at the beginning of our journey as researchers in holistic healing. And there's so much potential because so many of us have felt the power and the transformative healing that has happened to us and to our clients in this work. And now is the time to begin to document that transformation and to share it with others so that all of us can experience a deeper level of peace and well-being on earth together. And that process is outlined in greater depth in a Transcendent Health Framework video that you will find linked in this, under this video you're watching. And you are able to learn more about the Crystal Healing Therapist certification process by visiting our website. And if you click on certification programs, you'll find the Integrative Crystal Therapy certification program listed here. It is also included in our Master Energy Healer certification program and our Integrative Hypnosis certification program. So this entire process is taught in all three programs. It includes 14 courses: Energy Healing 101, Indigenous Healing 101, Healers of the Past, Crystal Healing 101, the geophysical and metaphysical properties of crystals, Crystal Healing 102, Chakras and the Rays, Crystal Healing 103, Transpersonal Chakras and the Rays, DNA Activation 101 and 102, Merkaba Activation 101, Energy of Human Physiology 101, Integrative Crystal Therapy 101 and 102, and 103, which is our practicum preparation, transpersonal psychology, and applied transpersonal research. Each of these 14 courses will lead you through a 27-month program. After that, there's also a 24-week practicum, the Holistic Business Practicum, which you will learn and practice and enter into a experience implementing the integrative crystal therapy programs that you've trained in. And you're able to register for this program now because our spring semester is getting ready to start this week. The registration portal is accessible from our website, and here you will find options to join this program, beginning with full tuition payment or payment plans. And if you don't have the financial resources to start this type of training, we also offer scholarships, grants, and a work study program. The scholarships and the grants are awarded on a rolling basis, and we have created a foundation where others who are committed to our collective vision for bringing more holistic healing practices to the world have donated to support the practitioners who are ready to train but need financial support. And you can find all of our scholarships and grants on our website under the Financial Aid tab. In addition to that, if you have no resources at all, our work study program allows you to work in exchange for tuition to pay for any of our training programs. You can learn more on our website by clicking on Work Study Program in the navigation menu. And finally, if you have any questions, whether you are a new student, a current student, or just thinking about our programs, don't hesitate to reach out for questions or support. Text us Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or email us. You can also go inside of your student dashboard if you are an existing student and enter into the open house. There you'll be able to schedule a one-on-one virtual meeting, face-to-face, Wednesdays, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. As you are moving through this process, as a student, as you are training in these modalities, my biggest piece of advice is to maintain your attention on the light, and you will succeed. I have been working with crystals now for almost 20 years. And in the beginning, I couldn't feel the crystals at all. I was not sensitive to their energy. I was just fascinated about their healing potential. And so I read all the books that I could, and I learned as much as I could. And over many years spending time in meditation with my crystals, in healing practice with my crystals, I started to become more and more sensitive to their energy. And now I can feel with a depth that is just nothing short of euphoric and stimulating on every level. So trust the process. Trust that it takes a different amount of time for each of us. And as long as you maintain your attention on the light, on how the light moves through the crystals, on how your practice with the light informs your work with the crystals, the best is yet to come. Do not let what you cannot do, interfere with what you can do. And that encapsulates our philosophy. Do the best with what you have right now. If you only have a small number of crystals that you are working with, go outside with them, spend more time with them in meditation, travel with them throughout your day, spend more time listening, because listening is a resource that we all have an infinite access to. And when we listen deeply, when we increase our presence, the amount of time that we spend present with our crystals, there is a depth that we can reach with our crystal healing practice that is incredible. So if you cannot start your training as a practitioner right now in crystal healing, you can spend more time with your crystals. And if you cannot give your crystal healing practice the time and the attention that you want to give it right now, you can definitely bring your crystals with you throughout your existing life that you're living. So if you're not in a full-time practice and you want to be, if you are training as a practitioner, but you're still working another job, you can spend more time daily with your crystals. And that is something that you can do. And that is something that, for me, changed my life. And it was the little bits of time every single day that I spent over many, many years connecting with my crystals that helped me to understand and connect and feel and realize the impact that they were having on my life. The time is now, and we are the change. Thank you for spending your time with me today. Please join us on Instagram and Facebook, where we will be streaming more of these videos and healing experiences live. You can also screenshot, if you like, this page. These are all of the references that we used in this video. They will be available if you are a student inside of our course portals as downloadable PDFs. Thank you again for joining me, and have a beautiful rest of your day.